Watch right now on the Front News Project. The south of Russia is on fire, heavy strikes on Sochi and Adler, and the Crimean Bridge is next in line. The Russian army has begun the assault on Pokrovsk, exclusive frontline footage. And also, hell in Kharkiv and Sumy, the genocide of peaceful Ukrainians continues. Fiery, intense, and blazing footage from the front lines. Watch it right now. This is the 4th year of the full-scale war that Putin's Russia started on Ukrainian soil. The Ukrainian armed forces continue to heroically defend not only their homeland, but the entire civilized world from the aggression of Kremlin war criminals. Greetings! This is Front News. I'm Vladimir Timoshenko. In the next 30 minutes, you'll get the truth about the war, brought to you by our journalists from the hottest combat zones. So, are you ready? Then let's begin. And let's start right away with a very telling aspect. Why are they bombing Sochi? Shouldn't they be bombing Russia? This phrase from a local resident during the drone attack instantly went viral. And it's not even about the fact that people in Sochi no longer want to be associated with Moscow. The point is that as of 2025, there are no peaceful regions left in the Russian Federation. Ukrainian armed forces drones are capable of striking and will strike military targets throughout the entire territory of Russia. Watch the report by TSN Week correspondent Oksana Radionova for the most notable strikes in recent days.
This is the resort city of Sochi. For the first time since the start of the full-scale war, Ukrainian drones resembling the Lyut UAV have added something rather specific to the tourist package. But apparently, the Russian vacationers didn't like it very much, and the local residents liked it even less.
Why are they bombing Sochi? Aren't they supposed to be bombing Russia?
Wait, isn't Sochi part of Russia? This question has already become a meme, just like the next one. Where is Russian air defense?
They've already run out of missiles. Maybe they really have run out of missiles. It's just nonsense at this point.
And it's even worse where the air defense is actually working. They fired at a drone so badly that they ended up hitting a residential building with their own S-400 missile. The main target of the Ukrainian attack was the oil depot at Sochi International Airport. Thousands of cancelled flights at Russian airports were compounded by a new transportation collapse. Drones have identified key railway junctions important to the occupying army. These are the logistical arteries that feed Russia's war machine. If they're cut, supplies to the front come to a halt. Through Kamny, the full name is Kamenolomny Station, the Russian army transfers equipment, weapons, fuel and soldiers to the front. High-quality drones destroyed not only the station building itself, but also the control room and the networks. As a result, nearly 150 trains failed to arrive at their destinations on time, which undermines their offensive. And this is another station, Likaya. In fact, trouble has plagued it since the days of the ATO. In fact, a significant part of the supply for the Donetsk and Luhansk fronts comes from here. Our defenders also attacked the railway logistics hub in Novocherkassk. Last night, a substation exploded in the Volgograd region, which supplies power to the railway in the Oktyabrski district. Civilian air traffic is being blocked by drones. We are actively attacking the railways. There are also changes happening in Russian ports. Starting this week, all foreign vessels there have been ordered to be inspected by FSB officers, which adds more problems to the Russian war economy. We continue the painful tactic of 100 cuts for the enemy. It was our forces, using two types of drones at once, these mini Shaheds and these tailed UAVs, that struck the sanctioned radio plant Signal in Stavropol. This plant is key for electronic warfare systems in aviation and air defense, as well as for weapon guidance systems. And this is how the nitrogen plant in the Stavropol region was burning, a producer of raw materials for explosives, specifically nitric acid and ammonium nitrate. Drones also paid a visit to the Tambov gunpowder plant. Here, the Russians produce gunpowder both for small arms and for rockets. A series of powerful explosions thundered in occupied Donetsk and Makivka. There was a powerful strike in the area of the Zashetko mine. At least 8 hits targeted the occupiers' base and the railway infrastructure. Ammunition was burning near occupied Melitopol. This week, our military intelligence reported. At the Armavir airfield in Krasnodar Krai, a Su-27 combat training fighter caught fire. They hinted that this was the work of partisans and that this is not the end.
And now, an analysis of the operational situation on the much-suffering Pokrovsk direction of the front. The situation here, too, is traditionally tense to the limit. On the Pokrovsk direction, throughout the day, the aggressor carried out 39 assault and offensive actions. High activity of Russian occupiers was recorded in the areas of the settlements of Novoekonomishne, Razino, Mirolyubivka, Lisivka, Zverevo, Udachne, Orekhov, Alexeyevka, Poltavka, Kotlino, as well as in the directions of Pokrovsk, Belitske, Novukrainka, Novopavlovka, Zapovedne, and Rodinske. 2 firefights are still ongoing. At the same time, the settlements of Rodinske, Mirnohrad, Mykolaiivka, and Pokrovsk were hit by guided aerial bombs. Yes, enemy saboteurs entered Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region. It is reported that one group was eliminated near the intersection of Shevchenko and defenders of Ukraine's streets. This isn't the very center, but it's not the outskirts of Pokrovsk either. The problem is that Ukraine simply doesn't have enough infantry in the Pokrovsk area. That's exactly why the enemy was able to get in there. This week, the regional military administration announced a mandatory evacuation from Dobropilia and 9 other settlements near Pokrovsk. And TSN war correspondent Andriy Tsaplienko worked with drone system units and tried to find out whether robots can replace people in holding the defensive line. Let's watch.
A Russian FPV drone is sitting on the road, waiting for its victim, a Ukrainian vehicle. Our soldiers call such traps by the Russian word zhdun, the waiter. Fortunately, the zhdun was spotted by a Ukrainian drone. One drone destroys another. The war of robots, it's already a reality. This is a typical situation for the defenders near Pokrovsk, where the enemy is trying to create an impassable kill zone and cut off logistics.
They're hitting our logistics terribly hard.
The enemy has advanced to the center of the village of Novoekonomikne, northeast of Mirnohrad. This means that the logistics corridor along the Kostiantinivka-Pokrovsk highway has already been lost. There are only 2 roads left to the strategically important city, one from the direction of Pavlohrad and another through the village of Rodinske. But both are under constant artillery fire and drone strikes. Fire! The 59th Brigade is holding the defense in the Pokrovsk area. This unit of unmanned systems forces also has its own assault infantry. Sometimes only ground drones are able to reach the positions there.
The enemy has cut off our logistics in this sector. Right now, it's also very difficult to get in with an armored personnel carrier or pickups. In our sector, robotic systems are the top priority.
Back at the beginning of the year, the Da Vinci Wolves Battalion, which became part of the 59th, realized that ground robots allow people to survive in places where it would seem impossible to survive. This is how a wheeled drone delivers food, ammunition, and medical supplies to the guys literally right under the enemy's nose. Because the Russians are, without exaggeration, sitting in the neighboring house. Now the battalion has a whole arsenal of unmanned vehicles for different tasks.
Its carrying capacity is from 400 kilograms. It can operate several times during the night.
The main task is logistics and evacuation of the wounded.
To evacuate one wounded person, you need at least 4 people. But with the robot, the job is easier. It makes things easier because you don't need 4 people. This already guarantees greater safety for people. Another advantage is that it works faster than a group of people.
Drones are also used to evacuate the dead. Here is one of those missions. A group of assault troops requests the evacuation of the body of a hero who died on the front line. A thermite drone tries to retrieve him. During the evacuation, several enemy FPV drones attack the ground drone. The robot withstands the hits. If the fallen soldier's comrades had tried to carry out his body, there would have been even more casualties. This guy, an NRC operator, had his own drone save his life during a logistics operation.
You could say the termite bought me my life. A Russian FPV attack starts on us. I see an FPV drone, it's flying straight at me. They're already shouting at me, "Run!" And I hear the FPV drone stop before landing, turn around and fly into the termite.
The operator whose robot shielded him is only 21 years old.
My advantage is UAVs and strike ground robotic systems.
Strike ground robotic systems operating here, specifically in the Pokrovsk area, have successfully stopped several significant assaults.
At that moment, the enemy was carrying out assault operations, and in fact they were successful. We were engaging the enemy from a nearby grove. Our task was to destroy the enemy. During our, let's say, shift at this position, we killed 4 sappers, specifically from the turret. We took out 2 of them right away, pinned 2 others to the ground, and then hit them with an FPV drone.
And this is a kamikaze platform. Usually, it delivers an anti-tank mine one way. An experienced operator can easily drive such a machine right into the enemy's shelter. Now here we go. Detonation. But machines like these haven't become a mass weapon yet. The main task for ground-based unmanned systems is logistics. But hoping that robots are holding the front line near Pokrovsk due to a shortage of people is wishful thinking.
Let me be honest with you. At this stage, logistics is like a joint, essential for the front line. At the moment, it can't hold a section or somehow reinforce it.
Here, near Pokrovsk, the war is changing very rapidly. Drones that were effective just yesterday suddenly lose their relevance today. This primarily concerns aerial drones, says the deputy commander of the 59th.
For me, this tool works well, but for the neighboring unit, say 3 brigades over, it doesn't work there.
Why?
Technical conditions, radio frequencies, where the enemy is. Well, for example, right now we have a situation where certain frequencies are working. On another section of the front, they might not work.
What do you do? It's a critical issue, especially when sometimes only drones can stop the enemy. The deputy brigade commander's solution is simple. Those who know their section of the front should be allowed to purchase drones themselves.
Decentralization. In other words, a military unit should have the right, have discretionary funds, and be able to say, we are ready to take responsibility for a specific piece of equipment.
In addition, the brigade command officer believes that this would also create an opportunity to reduce the unjustifiably high financial appetites of some manufacturers and therefore increase the number of drones.
The 10th FPV, yes, the 10th frame.
This is
exactly the same, just the 10th one, with a 10-kilometer spool on it. With one manufacturer, it costs 48, 47, and with another, 30. It's exactly the same thing. I don't even know what could justify artificially raising the price like that. What is it based on? Some kind of technical solution? No, they're identical.
From a financial standpoint, it looks like profiteering during wartime. In other words, people are profiting and taking advantage of the war without actually thinking about the outcome, about victory, or about the limitations of our resources. The defense of Pokrovsk shows that a turning point is coming in the war. To withstand it, everyone needs to adapt quickly, both those holding the front and those supplying the ammunition.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
And now, an analysis of the operational situation on the Novopavlivka and Hulyaipolis sectors of the front. The bloody rampage of the enemy army continues here as well. On the Novopavlivka direction, our defenders repelled 5 attacks in the areas of the settlements of Zelenoy Pol, Podubnoe, Mirnoe, and towards the settlement of Timirovka. On the Hulyaipolis direction, there have been no combat clashes since the beginning of the day. However, the enemy carried out an airstrike on the settlement of Bilohiria. Yes, as you have understood, the enemy is attacking Pokrovsk, but the armed forces of Ukraine are effectively repelling these attacks. Meanwhile, Germany has delivered a 3rd Patriot air defense system to Ukraine, as previously agreed between the government of the Federal Republic of Germany and the White House. More on these and other events from the front lines of the Russian-Ukrainian war in our next report.
Cannon fodder in exchange for technology. North Korea may send additional troops to Russia to participate in the war against Ukraine as early as August. In return, Moscow promises Pyongyang technology for satellite launches and missile guidance. Currently, the primary and most significant motivation for the isolated North Korean regime to actively supply its highly trained personnel and specialized expertise to Moscow is to gain invaluable first-hand experience in effectively waging this increasingly complex and rapidly evolving new type of advanced technological warfare. South Korean intelligence believes that Russia is planning a major offensive operation against Ukraine in August, and the possible involvement of North Korean units is directly related to these plans. Moreover, Pyongyang has already begun a new mobilization of military personnel to be sent to Russia. In addition, North Korea is supplying Russia with artillery shells and missiles, and in return receives technical assistance, according to military experts. However, even without North Korean reinforcements, the occupiers are trying to advance on the front. Russian troops continue to press forward, and over the past day have advanced in 2 regions, Kharkiv and Donetsk. Particularly heavy fighting is currently taking place near the Volchansky Khutora in the Kharkiv region, as well as near Yablonovka and Orekhovo in the Donetsk region. At the same time, a report from the Institute for the Study of War states that the Ukrainian armed forces have recently advanced in the Sumy region and in Kharkiv. In particular, sources linked to Ukrainian intelligence reported that Ukrainian defenders have retaken Kondratovka, which is located north of the city of Sumy. Meanwhile, Russian military correspondents claim that the Ukrainian armed forces have counterattacked near Varachin, Sadki and Yunakovka. Ukrainian troops have recently advanced in the north of the Sumy region and near Veliki Borluk and Lyman. Russian forces have recently advanced near Siversk, Toretsk, Novopavlivka and Velika Novosilka. However, such minor advances are coming at a very high cost to the occupiers. For example, for the first time in a long while on the Pokrovsk front, the Russians deployed armored vehicles into battle. But here's the problem. The column was destroyed by precise artillery and drone fire. First, artillery fire destroyed the vehicles at the front of the column, after which the UAV operators took over. Despite the fact that the Russian armored vehicles were equipped with anti-drone protection, enemy equipment was burned and the advance was halted by FPV drone strikes and dropped munitions. It is also reported that during the repulsion of the occupiers' attacks, the Ukrainian armed forces managed to eliminate the commander of the 83rd Motorized Rifle Regiment of the 69th Motorized Rifle Division of the Russian Army, Colonel Lebedev, who was leading the assault on the Kharkiv region. The occupier was specifically responsible for that new direction near the village of Milov, where the Russians began their offensive a few weeks ago. As a result, yet another assault attempt ended for the enemy with the loss of their commander.
You know, if we talk about every Russian swan, there's a swan lake for each of them. That I can definitely guarantee on behalf of the defense forces. The commander of the assault regiment. Of course, we can see that these Russians are certainly not making things any easier.
Things aren't going well for the invaders in the skies either. In the past 24 hours, our soldiers managed to bring down at least 17 Russian reconnaissance drones. The occupiers also lost quite a bit of their heavy equipment over the past day. Not a day goes by without strikes even inside Russia itself. Because of our drone attack, the railway operations there have been disrupted, trains are delayed and airports are not functioning. This time the strike hit the Volgograd region. It is along this route that Russia transports military cargo to the front. Local Telegram channels are also publishing footage of a fire at the local oil depot. Hits were also recorded there, but the information has not been officially confirmed by Russia. In addition to the Volgograd region, explosions occurred in 12 other regions and in annexed Crimea. The Kremlin claimed that 99 drones were allegedly shot down. Due to the attack, more than 70 flights were cancelled or delayed at Pulkovo airport. And now a major announcement from Vilnius. Lithuania is helping Ukraine purchase an additional Patriot system. The country's defense minister announced the intention to join the procurement of American air defense systems for Kyiv. Lithuania plans to allocate up to 30 million euros to achieve this goal. Let me remind you, recently, US President Donald Trump announced the transfer of Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine with the support of NATO countries, assuring that Kyiv would receive 17 such systems. And the first of them was provided to us by Germany. The Bundestag sent 3 Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine and is negotiating the delivery of a 4th. In total, Berlin is prepared to provide us with as many as 5 systems. There is also discussion about the possibility of Germany supplying Ukraine with long-range missiles.
And now it's time to analyze the operational situation on the Kupiansk and Lyman fronts. The enemy is becoming more aggressive here as well. On the Kupiansk front, the enemy tried 5 times to break through our defensive positions in the areas of Radkivka, Holubivka and Bohuslavka. The defense forces repelled all enemy attacks. The enemy attacked 14 times on the Lyman front, trying to advance in the areas of Rkivka and towards Shredne, Hrayhorivka and Shandriholov. 2 combat engagements are still ongoing. There are already more than 40 injured in Kharkiv. During the day, Russia struck the Shevchenkivsky district of the city with glide bombs, hitting a civilian enterprise and an area near an apartment building. Among the injured are 4 children. And in Cherkasy, 12 people have already been wounded, including a 9-year-old child. The enemy struck the city with 4 cruise missiles. Fires broke out at the impact sites. All the details are in the following report from our colleagues at the television news service.
The morning in Kharkiv began with explosions. The Russians dropped 2 aerial bombs right onto a residential area in the city center. One of the strikes landed near an apartment building. Among the wounded are children. The youngest is less than a month old. Two powerful explosions occurred around 11 in the morning. These were Russian-guided aerial bombs. Both hit the densely populated Shevchenkivsky district. One of the bombs landed near an apartment building.
I was in the bathroom at that moment. I heard a bang, ran out, grabbed the dog, and then probably 20 or 30 seconds later, there was a second bang. So I experienced it in the apartment, in the hallway. A fire started, and I actually thought the apartment was on fire.
At the time of the strike, I was on the balcony closing the window. I closed it, and as I was turning around, the blast wave hit. I didn't even understand how it happened, and I fell from the balcony into the kitchen. My ears started ringing right away, and I crawled. My child was in the bathroom, so I crawled to him. I'm fine. Everything is okay. It was just very scary, really scary. I was just lying on the couch. I didn't hear an explosion, but more like a rustling sound. But it was just a matter of minutes, and then a bang, like a vacuum. I was also trying to close the balcony, the windows. I wanted to close them, but then it happened again, and the blast wave threw me back. I hit the wall. The blast wave shattered cars. About 15 of them caught fire and blew out windows in neighboring buildings. Preliminarily, there is also damage inside the apartment building itself.
That's thousands of apartments. In fact, thousands of people have been left without their homes. For now, all our services will be working to find everyone who needs, let's say, alternative temporary housing. We will accordingly provide accommodation for all the people.
Another strike hit a civilian sewing enterprise. A large-scale fire broke out there.
It was a sewing shop. There was a very intense fire which has just been contained. A civilian enterprise was affected. It has no connection whatsoever to military facilities or military production.
The number of injured is increasing every half hour. At first there were 3, then 16, and after that the number exceeded 30. It is known that at least 5 of the wounded have been hospitalized. Among them is a 33-year-old woman in serious condition. According to the prosecutor's office, the range of the UMP-V5 bombs used by the occupiers is about 100 kilometers.
The Russians used new weaponry that had not previously been used to strike the city of Kharkiv. This is a guided aerial bomb. They can drop cabbies from even farther away, from safer locations for their aircraft.
Utility workers and rescuers are working at the scene.
And now, an analysis of the operational situation on the Siversk, Kramatorsk, and Toretsk fronts. The Russian world continues to destroy, kill, and maim here as well. On the Siversk front, our defenders successfully repelled 6 attacks near Serebryanka and towards Siversk. One battle is still ongoing. On the Kramatorsk front, the invading forces attacked once near Stupochki. At the same time, the enemy tried 10 times to break through our defenses on the Toretsk front in the areas of Oleksandro-Kalinove, Rusin-Yar, Toretsk, Shcherbinivka, and Yablonivka. A weapon of terror. The Russians have begun actively using the Italmas drone to strike Sumy. This weapon first appeared back in 2023. At that time, the drone demonstrated low effectiveness, but now the enemy has decided to revive the project. The Russian Italmas drone, also known as Geran 3, Product 54, or lawnmower, is a simplified version of the Shahed 136 attack drone, built using a flying wing design. It is also referred to as a hybrid of the Shahed and Lancet drones. We will tell you more about these UAVs and how the armed forces of Ukraine will destroy them.
A new weapon of terror against civilians. Russia is testing its new drone on Ukrainian frontline cities. The UAVs are used most actively for strikes on Sumy.
Italmas, which in Udmurt means a little flower from the buttercup family, continues the development of the Geran theme with internal combustion engines. But this is a completely domestic development, although it does remotely resemble the Iranian Shaheds.
The Italmas drone, named so because it is assembled in the shopping center of the same name in Ijevsk, first appeared back in 2023. However, at that time the UAV showed rather low effectiveness. Now though, the drone has been improved and is being tested again on peaceful Ukrainians.
There is nothing mysterious or enigmatic about it. People who have professional training in, say, engines. If you set the task correctly regarding the aerodynamic design, the construction will be properly developed.
Essentially, Italmas is a simplified version of the Iranian Shahed. It flies a shorter distance, doesn't go as far, and carries less explosives.
It has a deeper strike capability. That is, it can reach over 200 kilometers and has an enlarged warhead.
So is this also a kamikaze drone?
Also a kamikaze? Yes.
We're talking about a flight range of up to 200 kilometers, a speed of around 150 kilometers per hour, and a warhead weight of up to 25 kilograms. But its main advantage, according to experts, is its simplicity and low production cost.
If you add it all up, the engines cost about $1,000, the frame, well, at most, including labor, about $100, and the radio electronic equipment. Well, that's something else somewhere, but no more than $200 or $300. So the maximum cost of such a drone is about $1,500. At the same time, the manufacturing quality is poor.
But that's more than enough to cause problems for our air defense forces. The occupiers launched the Italmas in the same attack along with Shaheds, Gerans, and others. This then becomes an additional burden on our radars and mobile fire teams. If they miss the drone, the cost of destroying it is many times higher than the value of the target.
After all, you don't know what it's carrying or what it's doing there. You just know for sure that it needs to be shot down. When you shoot it down, you don't count the money or think about how much it costs. That's why, if all the machine guns miss, you have to shoot it down with a missile afterwards.
It's worth noting that according to the stated specifications, the upgraded Italmas drones are equipped with an artificial intelligence system. However, it's not specified exactly what kind.
Artificial intelligence and the ability to control a swarm. Well, artificial intelligence can be of different levels, purposes, and uses. But the first and simplest is machine vision. This is one of the elements that can handle the task of image recognition. That's the first task. And the second task is when the system can detect targets, identify them, assign a ranking, what to strike first, what to strike second.
But even that is not the limit, analysts say. Thanks to Chinese components, albeit in small quantities, the Russians are managing to integrate some very modern systems into certain UAVs.
When the system can do all this, when everything works, and these drones can also communicate with each other, and there are different communication algorithms, there can be a leader and followers, meaning one says, "Do as I do," and all the others perform the same maneuver as it does.
And it's not hard to guess where that maneuver will be directed: a store, a residential building, a bus stop. Experts claim that the Italmas is not suitable for military targets. Firstly, it has a relatively small warhead for striking fortified targets. And secondly, its low speed prevents it from being able to hunt mobile targets. At the same time, analysts say that the recent solution adopted by the Ukrainian armed forces against Russian drones in general is also perfectly suited for the Italmas. Interceptor drones, which have already been successfully shooting down Shaheds, are far superior to this UAV and can undoubtedly destroy it just as effectively.
That's all for today. But very soon on Front News, you'll see new unique reports from our journalists, brought to you from the hottest spots of the war, so that you know the truth. This was Vladimir Timoshenko with you. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones.